Good morning, everyone. It's a real pleasure to join you today, and my thanks to Invest North for inviting me to speak. We stand at a pivotal point for the Northern Powerhouse. 7 years after launch, we've seen huge progress, empowering Northern decision makers, many taking part today, modernising infrastructure and investing billions to level up communities. All key priorities when the project was launched back in 2014. And yet, the past 2 years have seen extraordinary change. Change that the original architects of the Northern Powerhouse could never have envisaged. Britain leaving the European Union, becoming the first country in the world to make legally binding pledges to decarbonise our economy, and of course, COVID. Now, individually, each of these events would be era-defining, but all three happening in quick succession is without precedence. Now, we know times of disruption and change bring challenges. Goodness knows, we've all had enough of those this past year. But they also create new openings, new opportunities, which I believe the North is better placed to grasp today than at any time for generations. First and foremost, we must beat COVID. I know how families and businesses across the North have suffered terribly this past year. Many have lost loved ones. Even more have lost their jobs. But finally, with our fantastic vaccination programme, we can see a path through this recovery. The UK is first among major economies for the number of vaccines administered per 100 people. Only the United States, China and India, far bigger populations, have delivered more doses than us. And figures last week showed that northern regions were among the leaders across the UK, with over 90% of people aged 60 and over inoculated at least once. And so as we prepare to roll out the rest of the vaccinations in the months ahead, the prospects for getting the North's economy back on its feet again are rising, and they're rising faster with each jab. Now then, the government's plan for growth, published alongside the budget, set out our plans for post-COVID recovery. And no other region has more potential for growth than the North. That's why we're putting such emphasis on levelling up, on boosting investment, on transferring powers to local leaders, and binding the North together by overhauling infrastructure. We just need to make it all happen faster by raising our aspirations, accelerating our plans, and redoubling our efforts to build back better. And we've already made transformational shift in decision-making. By May, with the new West Yorkshire Combined Authority, 60% of the North will be represented by metro mayors fighting on behalf of their areas, and that's far more than any other region. But the latest commitments in the budget will take devolution right up to the next level. Locating Treasury North in Darlington is a real sign of intent. Staffed by 750 of the most senior civil servants, this isn't just another office. It's a substantial chunk of the largest government department moving out of the capital, putting northern people and businesses at the heart of the way this country is run. We also announced that the new UK Infrastructure Bank would be based in Leeds, further evidence that the UK's economic centre of gravity is shifting northwards. Having these major institutions in the North will help northern businesses access global markets while attracting inward investment. And the UK Infrastructure Bank will replace some of the functions of the European Investment Bank, offering more targeted support to customers better aligned with the North's needs and objectives. And then we're also opening a northern hub for my department, the DFT, in Leeds. And all of that is part of our drive to move 22,000 civil service jobs out of London. The new office will give us a fresh perspective on how government can better deal and deliver transport improvements across the North. Now, both the budget and the plan for growth confirm that despite the economic cost of COVID, will not be diverted from our mission to build the Northern Powerhouse and provide an environment where enterprise and innovation can flourish. A great example of that is our Freeport programme, with 3 new freeports in Humber, Liverpool and Teesside. They'll become catalysts for economic growth thanks to the favourable rules making it easier and cheaper to do business. As well, of course, as simplified customs processes, freeports will offer tax measures to incentivise business investment and planning reforms to encourage construction. Among the reasons the 3 northern locations were chosen was their ability to regenerate deprived parts of the country. New port infrastructure will also be built to support the next generation of offshore wind projects in Teesside and in Humber. And meanwhile, Tees Valley will become a pioneering centre for hydrogen transport, paving the way for a new generation of hydrogen buses, trucks, trains, planes and ships. We're spending billions elsewhere to level up the north. Now, for example, almost half of the towns that will benefit from the initial £3.6 billion Towns Fund are in the north. Further announcements in the budget included over £1 billion for 45 more towns to benefit from the fund. Again, almost half of them in the north. 3/4 of the £400 million Brownfield Fund has been allocated to authorities, you guessed it, in the north. And this will help unlock 20,000 homes across the north by bringing underused land back into use. And of the money we've allocated to local authorities in England for COVID business support grants, that's £3.2 billion, has been invested in the north and used by the Northern Powerhouse. With a further £1 billion for local projects to boost recovery from the pandemic in places that need it most, and up to £830 million has been allocated from the Future High Streets Fund, with the North accounting for 8 of the 15 places so far confirmed to receive that funding. Alongside the budget guidance was published local areas helping them to apply for a share of the £4.8 billion of Levelling Up Fund to invest in local infrastructure projects as well. Now, to help get the best out of this investment and rebuild the jobs that have been lost during the pandemic, there's a real imperative to get on with modernising of the northern transport system. Last month, HS2 Phase 2A between the West Midlands and Crewe was given royal assent, meaning high-speed rail in the north of England was enshrined in law for the very first time. And it will be built 6 years faster than originally planned after we move forward the opening date to 2027. We're spending £589 million on the Transpennine Rail upgrade to significantly boost capacity and connectivity between East and West. And we're continuing to develop Northern Powerhouse Rail, supported by £75 million of further funding this year. The budget confirmed £146 million more money to progress my favourite road, the A66 upgrades, 5 years earlier than was originally planned. And on the railways, we've recently launched an industry-wide mission called Project Speed to deliver crucial rail improvements faster and cheaper. Well, one of the schemes to benefit is the restoration of the Northumberland rail line between Newcastle and Ashington, closed to passengers in the 1960s as a result of those notorious beaching cuts. And complementing Project Speed is the new Northern Transport Acceleration Council, or NTAC, another body created by me to unblock the barriers and speed up transport across the north. In fact, I chaired an NTAC's third meeting, a plenary session, bringing together ministers and northern leaders to discuss our new national bus strategy and progress accelerating northern infrastructure projects just this week. Now, all of these initiatives follow the Prime Minister's announcement last June of a new task force to complete public investment projects more rapidly and affordably. Finally, let me just address transport for the north. Now, I keep reading funding has been cut, but due to an underspend this financial year, TfN has significant money in its reserves. And the most recent settlement will give them access to over £67 million next financial year. By the way, that's up from £59 million this year. So when you consider that £29 billion has been invested in the North since 2010, our commitment to the region has never been stronger, and I really think cannot be doubted. So to conclude, some people speculated that COVID could spell an end to the Northern Powerhouse. In fact, it's done the opposite, reinforcing the need to modernise the infrastructure that knits the North together, to provide a competitive and welcoming environment for new business, and give the North control over its own destiny. We're committed to this project for the long term, and we'll continue to work with Northern businesses to invest and innovate and rebuild and reconnect until we level up our country and restore the North's rightful place and rightful position as an economic powerhouse. Thank you.